Okay, we're back. It got mined, but the page I look at still stays the same. And I don't have anything in my email yet, so, and I know that the transaction is confirmed. So now, I've used these guys before. Every time I send a payment, I get some sort of confirmation. I don't think it usually takes this long. So, yeah, I hope I get an email or something soon. But for now, I have to move on. We can create a Web3 object. We can put an address in here. We can put anything we want, you know, and it'll go like everything's fine, but then you can't actually use it in any way. There's a way that you can. What was that? What was that line I used earlier? Web3 ETH block number, and right now it's a little confusing. I've imported this a couple of different times with different names. Oops, but none of them was that one. Web3. Yeah, in any case, we need a URL, so I'm gonna have to, I guess, move on to something else. How many users we got right now? Viewers, I should say, not users. Looks like 0. Oh, 5 viewers. I don't know if you guys just popped up out of nowhere or if the display wasn't working. All right. So let's where's my, here we go. Okay, I think we're going to skip 1 and 2, go right to 3. And we're just going to focus on Web3.js. We built part of an auction contract last seminar, yesterday. So now let's do the same thing. Or sorry, not the same thing. Let's do the same thing we did Tuesday, but with a new contract now. This half-built auction contract. So let's see what we can close here. I'll check out a quick note later. We got to get the auction solidity up so we can see what functions we have implemented, what we can use this for. We need to get remix up. We'll close this. Well, there's the source code, so that's good. And now, I suppose the first thing that we want to do, we've tested this contract a bunch, but I don't know if we actually ever deployed it. And this is ready to deploy. And I try to build these these contracts to be deployable as soon as possible. I don't think it's much use to build these contracts for too long without actually putting them on a network somewhere and trying them out with real. You can get as real as you can. So yeah, let's go to deploy this. So I'm usually doing JavaScript VM so far, and now I'm going to do injected Web3. I'm going to go to MetaMask and change the network to Ropsten. And you'll notice the page reloads, that's good. And see, that took forever. And it's finally done. Okay, injected Web3, and let's go ahead and deploy it. How do we deploy? You know, we don't have a constructor in here. Oh, we got a parse error. No, that's because I'm doing my stuff right here. It's one thing that's not good about autocompile. Let's see. Constructor doesn't need a name. Okay, just arguments. It's giving me a warning. No visibility specified. Defaulting to public. We'll just make it clear. And I don't think we even need to put anything in it. Let's just go to run. Okay, now we have a deploy button that was not there before. So that can be a little gotcha. If you forget to put the constructor in there, it will still compile, but you'll actually maybe have no way at all to actually put it on a contract, or I mean on an address anywhere. And you know, we should initialize some stuff in here, but there's really nothing to initialize. Address will start out as being the null value. Our bids list will be empty already, so we don't really need to put any code in here. We could assign the auctioneer, but there's no reason to right now because the auctioneer doesn't really play any special role yet. We really just did the bidding mechanics and not the auctioneer mechanics. So let's deploy. It brings up MetaMask. I can confirm. You know, it'd be nice if I could change the gas settings on this page, but when you start a contract through MetaMask, it doesn't ask you. And now I'm also going to go to the mainnet and publish the same contract on there. And I'll show you on the interface how easy it is to switch between the two from a developer standpoint. Okay, run, and there is no deploy button again. Interesting. Maybe I need to click that again. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, deploy. Now this is interesting. It's a I'm going to click that. Do not ask for confirmation again. Okay, so now we can watch those. We can go to ropsten.etherscan.io and etherscan.io. And we can take my address here. So, you know, you can select through your networks. You can use different networks, but if you just take your address here, it's going to be the same on both networks. It'll just have different histories. So I'm looking at Ropsten. Oh, these are different sizes. That's weird. Let's blow this up. Okay. So aside from the sponsorship ad, these are the same page, looking at the same address, but one is on Ropsten, this one, and one is on the mainnet. So they have different histories. And it looks like the one I got one just 21 seconds ago, so that was my deployment command. So let's look at that. This is on the mainnet. Say contract created. So there is our mainnet deposit contract. So people can use it just like we've been testing it, but they can put real money in, And now I bet if I refresh, this one will be mined as well. No, not yet. So this transaction will create the contract. You can even see that right there, but we won't have the address until this goes through. How are we doing on viewership here? 3 viewers, cool. I guess since mainnet is deployed, we can go ahead and try to connect to this. So let's look at going to the seminar source code here on our GitHub, week 1, and I'm opening deposit manager interface. I'm tempted to just copy this, the first part anyway, delete what I don't need and start from there. I think I'm going to do that. Okay, save, paste, save as, need to find my shit, CPA, seminar source code, week 1. And we're going to call this one it's an interface to the auction. That's going to be a web page. So right now, if I load it, it'll just do the same thing. It's not going to connect to the auction. It'll connect instead to the other contract here. So I'm going to change these values here. I'm going to change the address, and I'm going to change the ABI, because that's what's currently pointing to the deposit contract, and we want to point it to the newly deployed mainnet auction contract, which is right here. So there's the address. Alt tab, put it in here, and now the ABI, I need to go to remix. Now again, the ABI is generated by your compiler, so that it'll always be hidden somewhere in there. Sometimes you got to go look around for it. Here, if you go to compile and select the contract you want, go to details, you can find it somewhere in here. Oh, there it is. I skipped right past it. And you can look at it on here, which can be nice. I mean, I guess if you want to get a look at what that looks like. Anyway, copy that and go here and paste and put a semicolon. Okay. And now I think I'm just going to comment out everything except for this first bit here. Even these I want to comment out because they're referencing functions that are not in this contract we're using, but we'll use similar styles probably when we get to calling functions. Okay, so I've commented out everything pretty much except for it creates the Web3 object, it creates the contract instance from the ABI and the address, which we've changed down below, and then it just gives the user address output. So it doesn't really do anything with a smart contract, but it does create the contract instance. So I'm just going to save this now, and now I'm going to have to actually move this file. So I should probably close this because I need to put this into my var www.html directory to be able to load this locally. So I'm going to go move wish I could copy the move that. And actually, yeah, we're going to move it to var www.html. Now I need to do the sudo. Okay, and let's make a new folder for it too. I'm just going to call it auction and move auction interface into that folder. Auction. And again, do sudo. Okay, now I should be able to test it out by going to localhost/auction. Oh, it's not an index file, so I need to go to the specific page here. Connected, network ID is blank, which is interesting. Am I logged in? I'm logged in. Let's refresh and just see. So it does get my address correctly. But the network ID, oh, you know, I think I just commented out the part of that code that updates that. Yeah, it's right here. So I can put that there. Take this out. Let's just turn on bits of this and see what works. Oh, I'm editing the wrong one again. Okay, I need to close this. I need to copy my text. Close that. Open. There we go. Paste in. And save, and now run it. Okay, there we go. We got the network ID output going. So we already up and running a little bit here. We have a Web3 connection, and that's pretty key. If you have a Web3 connection, there's really not a lot of Ethereum that's off limits to you. I mean, you know, then you have to do a little bit more development in terms of creating the contract instance, but in fact it's not too hard once you know what you need. You need the API, you need the address. So you got to go find those, and again, the API will be it will have been generated by the compiler or IDE that you're using. Anyway, so you make the contract just that easily, and then later we'll be able to pretty quickly start calling some functions or getting some information from our contract instance. I'm going to take a quick break, maybe for about 5 minutes. Yeah, let's see how people are doing here. I always use Ubuntu. It's just what I know, and I haven't until recently made a good effort at getting more involved. So I just stick with Ubuntu because it's just what I know. I've heard intriguing things about CentOS. It sounds like it's a solid system, but it's a little intimidating for me to when I hear about how long it takes to set up. Anyway, yeah, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn my mic off. It's almost like I wonder if I should play music for you guys. I could turn on my internal speakers here. I'm going to do that. Turn off my internal mic and play some soft music. Okay, I am back, and let's see, we're almost an hour in to the seminar. I'm split between wanting to keep it short, so it doesn't take too many hours for people to catch up. But we are almost at a functional stage for this interface. I mean, insofar as the contract is functional. The contract itself isn't very interesting yet. You can pretty much put your money in and take it out as bids, but they don't do anything. But nonetheless, we can take that functionality of the smart contract and sort of expose it through some Web3.js. Be right back. I'm going to grab my tea. Okay. What do we got here? So we can keep that in there. That'll be good. This line here, just like with the last contract, it'll look up the balance of this this auction contract and display it. And here it's calling them as functions, but it's really fetching the state variable from the contract. You know, it's fetching the deposit holder, it's fetching the deposit submitter, their addresses. And so we're going to modify this because our contract doesn't have these locals. And just to visually kind of simplify things until we get through that, I'm just going to comment that guy out too. So we're just going to look for some stuff on the contract that we're now interfacing with and replace the names here with something we can actually grab from it. So let's go to our Solidity contract here. And I wonder what people said about the music. Nobody gives a fuck. All right, it's going to continue then. Where was I? Back on my text. So here's our auction contract. It's nice. It still fits on one page. A lot of times, the first version of my contracts will fit on one page if you ignore the comments. My first burnable payment fit on one page, just like this. It's a good time to start building an interface into it. That's for sure. And anyway, so we have, let's see here. We have an auctioneer variable, but we haven't set that to anything yet. So we can fetch it in our interface, but it'll just display as zeros, the 0x0000. It's the null address. Let's see, we have a list of bids, but it's going to be empty until we can actually do something on this contract. Interface somehow and call one of these functions, whether it's through our interface or another one. It's a new contract, so the bids list is empty. So if we want any kind of info to get returned there, we're going to have to somehow make a bid or recall a bid, however we implement that. First thing we can do though is we can do something really simple and just output the length of bids, and that'll be a little interesting for me. I don't know if I've ever tried to fetch. I know I've used the length of arrays before, but I don't know if I've returned them. So let's see. Solidity array length first of all. Okay, I figured, yeah, so we just have to make a little getter if we want specifically the length. So that means I'll have to redeploy, unfortunately. I don't know if I really want to redeploy. I'd like to keep the contracts, as simple as possible to build the first interface. So now, because bids is public, I can call it as a variable, but the way it works with arrays is you have to give it an iterator, and it'll fetch a specific item from the list. And all right. So I know that I can say bids here. I don't know how to pass to it the iterator. I think I'm going to have to redeploy. Make this a little simpler. Okay, let's go to auction and change this a little bit. Let's put a getter in for the length function. This is good to have anyway. Let's see, bids length. I guess I'll say get. Actually, maybe make it a little bit clear. Number of bids. That's a little clearer to what's actually happening. And we're going to make this public. We're also going to make it view, I believe. I should really be editing this in Remix because it highlights my my code. Paste that in there. Okay, so we were right here. Get number of bids. It's public. It's view because it doesn't change state. I believe that will work fine. Let's see what this says. Okay, it's saying it can be restricted to pure, but we haven't really written anything in here yet. So let's see if that stays when we say return. Return bids.length. I think it's just that easy. Oh, I need to say, of course, returns uint. And I can name this if I want. Bids of bids, like that. All right. Now, while I'm editing the smart contract and putting in this getter, it makes me wonder if I want to put other getters in here. Yeah, it'd be nice to see something about these bids from our interface. So you always have a choice of how much of the logic you want in your smart contract and what parts of the logic you want in your interface. So I am going to what I can do is put in another function here that's sort of a specific, let's say, specially made getter, knowing what I'm going to use it for in the interface. So I'm going to say, so what's some interesting information about these bids? How about get highest bid? I think that one's, and that'll be useful for the internal logic later when we're talking about the auctioneer. So that's that'll be great. So get highest bid ID, and we're going to make this public. I could make it external, but that would actually limit the contract itself from calling it. So I want to make it public, which means anything can call it, including the contract itself. What else? We need to put some parentheses on here. And we need to say it's going to returns int bid ID return. Okay, now of course now I'm just realizing we ran into an issue, and that is that I'm going to have to iterate through this list to figure out which one is the highest, and there's really no way around it if I want to deterministically find the highest. And that's a problem because, as I said on the other Solidity development day, you want to avoid iterating, and you especially want to avoid iterating over a list that's unbounded. So, you know, this it's going to be going through this bids list. If there's 100 bids on there, 1,000, 10,000, you know, at some point we're not going to be able to get through the whole list before the gas runs out. So what that means is that this bids list, if I let's just implement this simply so we can talk about it a little bit more concretely. I'm going to have to let's see. I don't know if Solidity has for. They do have a for. Let's look at Solidity for a loop. Let's see. Let's see if it's Does this actually compile? And then I need to spell my returns correctly. How about this? I think the guy was saying that he wanted to do that. Let's see. Control structures, function calls. Come on, looking for loops, baby. What? Not lops. Loops. That seems to indicate it should work. Oh, it's just a warning. This does work. And does this work? Yes, it does. And we'll put a equals 0 just to be extra explicit, but everything you initialize in Solidity or in the EVM, when we write Solidity, we compile it to the EVM, and everything you write in here, whenever you initialize a variable, it's always going to initialize to the null state. So that's why I don't ever set the auctioneer, I don't ever clear it or initialize it, because I know that it starts at 0. And so when we do start referencing that and using it, we'll just check for that, and that will be our undefined case, our indication that it's not been set yet. Anyway, so let's see this for loop here. We need to keep track of whatever the highest is. So uint highest bid yet think I'm just going to take out a lot of the name here. Yep. Okay, now we're going to say if this bids dot, and then let's go back up to our bid structure here. We want to be looking at the amount. If the amount is greater than highest amount, and I should put the parentheses over here. Okay. I'm also going to initialize this to 0. Again, it'll do that anyway, but this makes it more explicit. Yeah. I'm a little worried about this highest ID because it's going to start at 0. But I guess this loop will probably always, I think it'll always find something. But this is the kind of stuff you have to worry about. It's like, what if, you know, I don't design this loop correctly and then I end up with the highest ID of 0, not because it is the highest, but just because it never chose anything else. So it's something you have to worry about. I usually, like in Python, I'll put like a -1 here, and then later I'll check for that, because that kind of indicates it hasn't been set. But we're using an unsigned integer here, and so that is not going to do what we think it will. That's what the U stands for. So I could do int equals -1, but then the issue there is that my highest ID might not actually have enough of a high enough upper bound to access all of bids. Now at that point, bids is going to be huge if highest ID can't reference the bid from the precision we lost there. But neither option is really a great choice. I'm going to keep it at 0. I'm going to start it at 0 rather. And I suppose all this means is that if the list only has one item in it, it'll be the highest ID. Now, one thing I should say is I should require that the length is at least 1. Just say greater than 0. So I know that I at least have one item in here, and if nothing else happens, I'll just register the first item as the highest. But if there's anything more than one, we're going to go through them. And if we see one that's higher than the highest we've tracked so far, we're just going to store those values. So highest amount we have to change now to this bid's amount. And then highest ID we have to change to this ID. Okay, so let's see here. We have a list, or sorry, we have a loop to iterate through this list. It's going to go find the highest one, but it necessarily would need to go through the whole list to achieve that. So if we have 10 bids, that's not a problem. 100 bids, that might not be a problem. I don't really know, but we're going to relatively soon get to a limit where this function will, at a certain point, fail every single time because the list has gotten so big that it can't do this calculation. And so this is sort of, I would say, a good first implementation of this. But if we really want to make this resilient to when the list gets that large, we want to then start asking, okay, max iterations. But then we got to worry about, well, what if we go halfway through the list and we don't find the highest one? And that gets hairy. I'll just leave it at that. So we can. That's something I would worry about later in the implementation. For now, this will work, at least at first. And if it breaks eventually, well, hopefully don't put a lot of money in here and just play around with it. I think is really the key with a lot of this stuff. So autocompile is on, so that has compiled. We now have these two new getters. This one is a specific getter that will iterate through. So, I mean, it's important to note that even if this becomes unusable, this function here, it's just a getter. And, that certainly might break some interfaces, but it's not going to break the contract. And the contract will still function even if this function can never complete. And we could maybe put some other getters in here that act a little differently. We could have a getter that gets a specific bid. In fact, there's probably a way you can do it even without writing a getter here because bids is public, but I don't know how to pass that on a Web3 call. That would be a good piece of independent work if anybody wants to get into that. figure out if there's a way through Web3.js we can call a specific bid from the list via the automatically generated getter that we should have because it's public. So bids is public, and somehow you can use that generated getter to find a specific bid. Okay, so it's compiled. Let's go deploy it. I'm going to clear the old one. And I am going to do it on Ropsten. Since I'm redeploying, I do like to get it on mainnet whenever I can, but if you're still sort of working on the contract code itself, you just save on the money, because it does cost money to deploy a contract every time. But on Ropsten, it's it's all free. And look at that, already, no, that's a different one. It's a much older one. What happened here? 120 block confirmations. I can't deploy it. Why can't I deploy it? Oh, I somehow copied something wrong and I didn't get that constructor. Huh. Wonder where that was lost. Well, that's easy enough to throw in. And you do have to be careful about monitoring your contract sources and sort of keeping them in order. They're easy to lose. I've lost a couple of contract source codes. Nothing big, but that's probably just a consequence of using these online compilers. You gotta be careful with your cookies and shit. Anyway, so constructor here. Doesn't take anything. It's public, and it doesn't do anything. Okay, now we have a deploy, and we have it. Now we're going to deploy it with these two new getters. So let's go ahead and do that. Confirm. Yeah, I didn't do that last time. So we can watch it here. We can also click on it and watch it at Etherscan. This is Bonobo we have playing. Fucking love this album. So we are an hour and 15 into the seminar now. I think I got started a little late though. But let's look back at our outline. So we've skipped 1 and 2, and we're really just doing number 3. So I'm just gonna make another version of this outline that is what actually happened here. Just copy this, put it there. And we're doing Web3.js. I can break it up later. And it has mined now. That's good. And the contract here is created, and here is our contract address. All right, and we also have a new ABI, so we have to grab that too. We need to point our source code at the new information. So we're going to go to the interface here. We're going to go all the way down to the bottom. Well, not all the way, but this big chunk is ABI. So paste the new address there, change the ABI at the same time. If you don't change both at once, you'll get weird errors that are difficult to diagnose. So make sure you always change them both, and don't forget to do 1/2 of it. So I need to go to remix and go to compile, go to details, and get an ABI. Now that weirdness, all those clicks I had to do, that's something that that other compiler gets around, but I haven't been able to get it work on this machine. The other compiler being Pragma, with pragma.com. Anyway, so I have the ABI now. I'm going to go to my source code and Control-Shift-End, get rid of all that, paste the new one in, save, and now let's see, I've saved it, and this is the right one. It's in my web server folder. So now if I go here and reload my localhost /auction, I'm also going to close that. So I've redeployed, and it got the new address, I think. Is that the right address? CB162. Whoops, damn it. CB162, yeah. Okay, that's cool. So now let's try to use one of our getters here. Instead of this, we're going to use, whoops, stay in the text editor, but look at our smart contract. What are the names of these? We have, oh, it's not on this. I need to close this. That's not my live, that's not what I'm actually developing. And I need to grab it, look at it on the website. Okay, get number of bids and get highest bid. Let's just do those. Get number. Yeah, that's interesting. It picked it up from probably from the JSON ABI I put down here. This autocomplete. Get highest bid ID right there. That's nice. This notepad. This what is it? What is this called? Atom. This text editor is amazing. I highly recommend it. Anyway, let's be clean and actually change. Let's do a find and replace, because we shouldn't be calling it that. Nope. Control F. Yeah, find, replace with. What are we outputting? We're outputting number of bids. Okay, we're going to replace all. And then we're also going to replace submitter output with highest bid output. Okay. Replace all. And then we also want to go down to the body and actually change what it's outputting as the label here. Let's just do number of bids, like that. And deposit submitter is instead going to be highest bid. All right. And then I'm just going to take, oh yeah, contract balance. We still need that. Let's put another break in here to visually distinguish it. In fact, let's take it way up here and put it under contract address. So those aren't going to change if we change other contracts. Take out this break. Okay, let's save that and see if it does what we think it should. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Refresh. Whoa. Okay, so what's happening is okay, I see what happened. So it should just get the information and come back. That's what it did on our old one. But the difference here is that I'm calling, and I'll fix it in just a second, but to explain what's going on, these functions I'm calling are my interface doesn't know that it's a constant function, that it doesn't need to go and affect the Ethereum EVM, and that is defined in the ABI. But where that came from, and that I'm now going to change, is I'm going to go to smart contract code, and I'm going to make these constant, I believe, or at least view. I think view is good here, and I think this is good for view too. It might even be pure. Let's see if that. Nope. I can't do a require and a pure. Okay. Then I'll do view. That should be fine. Yeah. I don't understand exactly the use cases of pure, except for like if you're going to do like a mathematical function, pure is pretty good. Maybe because there's an unbounded loop also that would violate it. But anyway, view, I believe that now that I put that in here, when I run this page again, it's not going to ask for a MetaMask confirmation because it's not going to be trying to initiate any smart contract calls. It's just going to be fetching the info like a getter. So I need to. Now what's interesting is I think I don't need to redeploy, because that should really only change the ABI. We're going to try it and see if that works. We're just going to try to just replace the ABI and then see if these functions work. You know, if I was working on this for sort of professional deployment, I would definitely want to change them both every time, the ABI and the address, which means I'd have to redeploy and wait. But I want to see if this works, and we can always go back and retry something. So, okay, I need to get the new ABI. I already got that. I already got that. I just need to replace here. Here we go. Paste. Okay. Save. Now let's go to our page and see what happens. Yeah, okay, so that seemed to work. Well, yeah, okay, number of bids 0, highest bid is 0. That works as expected, right? That makes sense. Now the real test is, let's take out these controls or comment them so they're not distracting us, because that's left over from the old one. I believe I can do it like this, like that. Like that. Yep. Okay, save, refresh, just get those buttons out of there. Uh-oh. I fucked it all up. Right, I only want to take out this bit. Yeah, okay, let's try that. I was commenting out all the HTML. That's much better. Now, contract balance doesn't seem to be working. Oh, so that's interesting. I'm going to ignore that for now. I'd rather focus on, for me the next step is to go somewhere and actually change these numbers in the contract. So go interact with the contract and make sure that it will update on this interface here. It looks like it's working, but you know, zeros aren't the strongest confirmation. So what's cool now is that because our contract is actually on Robson rather than our own little local machine, I can use lots of different tools to connect to this contract. So I'm going to go to, first I'm going to clean up some tabs here. It's good to be clean, I suppose. Let's see, close that, leave that open. That's our contract address. I believe it's the latest one. Let's see how long ago it was published. 45 minutes. That might not be the latest one. Let's go make sure. I'd hate to be pointing at the wrong contract. So contract deployment confirmed. Let's go look at that one, and let's click on the contract. And yeah, indeed, that is a newer one. So yeah, it's lots you can keep lose track of using this stuff. That might have been that one there, but anyway, okay, close that. I got my DAP up. I don't need that up, and I don't need that up. Okay. So, oh, damn it, that is annoying. I'm gonna go to so I usually go to MyEtherWallet. Weird story with MyEtherWallet. Like, I guess the development team split up, and they were weird. They didn't really say anything about it, and then part of the people went to MyCrypto. And my understanding is that MyCrypto is generally the one that we'll see more support from. MyEtherWallet still works pretty well, and you can tell. I mean, the style is quite similar, at least with this, the way that there's different tools up here, and they both do pretty much the same thing. But I'm going to give MyCrypto a shot, and if we get any bugs, we'll go back to MyEtherWallet. But I understand this is pretty stable. So we're going to go to contracts. This is my favorite thing about both these tools, is this contract thing, because all you need, you can select a contract if it's some sort of well-known one, like ENS. But if it's not published in that way, you can give it an address and an ABI, and we'll be able to have a low-level interface to this. So I'm going to take my address from here, and I'm just going to double check and make sure that address is the same as this one I'm looking at. C1B162, yep, sure is. Okay, everything's on the same page. All right, and then I'm going to take the ABI. Oh my goodness, there we go. Okay, Control V. Access. Okay, no error messages. And here are all of our functions that we can call. So let's see what we want to do here it's actually do something. So I'm going to go and make bid. Now remember, we have an extra data string in there that you can leave blank. It doesn't really have a meaning yet, but you do have to put an argument in there. So I'm just putting an empty string in there. And I now need to choose how I'm going to access my wallet. I'm going to do MetaMask. This is a very high gas price. You can usually get by with 5. 20 is good if you want to make sure you never have to wait. On mainnet, contract deployment with 20 gigaway can cost, I mean, if it's a bigger contract like my current burnable payment contract, this would result in maybe sometimes $3, $7. I don't think it really matters on Robson because there's no real economics behind it, because none of the money means anything, even the mined fees and even this stuff. But it is good to be aware of what gets you through on the main network, because you can't just do 0. You have to actually sort of know what the number is. A lot of the interfaces will guess a number that usually works most of the time, but it's good to be aware of, because sometimes ICOs will come and just make the whole thing congested, or CryptoKitties made the whole thing congested for like a week. That's fucking nuts. All right, rejected. That's no good. Okay, now remember that I did not redeploy, and I just grabbed the new interface, so, or the ABI, the new ABI. So now I'm going to fix that, because I bet that's what caused the error here. It is now an hour and a half into the seminar, so that'll probably be the last thing we do, is get affect these outputs, which right now is amounting to being able to call this. So we got redeploy first. Redeploy, call this to actually affect the smart contract and change that value, and then we'll go here and refresh to see if it's updated here. So that'll be the last thing we do. All right, so let's get started on that. Redeploying. Usually it's not too difficult, but you just gotta wait for the time it takes to deploy. Run, clear the old one, and redeploy, and click confirm, and check it out. Wait here for a bit. Wonder if I got any chats. Here we go. How did I get into Solidity? Let me turn the music down a little bit. I guess just my volume here. Oh, Seiron has an excellent point here. That is a really elegant way of fixing the issue I talked about earlier. So that's I'm sad I missed it until now, because that's a great point. So what Seiron is saying so I have this loop here, and I was sort of complaining that this will eventually break this function if the list gets too big. Now Seiron has made the point that I can avoid iterating if, instead of making a loop here that checks whenever someone requests to see what the highest is, you check to whenever there's a new bid, you check to see if the new bid is higher than the last highest one, and store it in an extra variable. That's a great way to do it. So I am not going to change it right now, but that's only due to time constraints. That is an excellent improvement to make over this. Yeah. Yep, that bit sounds right. My thing just mined, so that's good. I'm going to just go through the rest of these messages, though. That's right, yeah, and then build a getter for highest bid. Yep, yes, and that David is correct there as well. I'm going to give a nice hearty 100 out here for both of these, really. I'm looping. Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. Okay. How did I get into Solidity? Thanks, David, for forwarding that to Slack. As I said in one of the seminars, I went to the DevCon the year before last. That was about 2 years ago. For those of you who don't know, that's just like the Ethereum convention is annual. I mean, there's lots more, of course, but I believe it's sort of the highest profile Solidity, or not Solidity, but Ethereum convention. And, you know, a lot of times they'll talk about not just Solidity and directly, but like Golem or other projects will have their own presentations. Anyway, that was about 2 years ago. And before I went, I decided I wanted to actually write one of these smart contracts, and I decided I can make it as simple as I want. I just want to get something that compiles. I knew that was a goal to get to, so that I wrote the first burnable payment then. And as I said earlier, that could fit in one screen. I went and talked to people, a little bit about it, but I was mostly interested in what other people were doing. But ever since writing that first contract, I felt that I had this sense that we really do have a lot of power right now. If you get into this stuff, you can make some interesting things. And thanks to crypto investments, I'm able to focus on it full time and learn it full time for now 2 years. So that is how I got into Solidity, and that's why I'm still with it. Is because my day job I've not been bothered by a day job for 2 years now, and I've been able to focus on this full time, as I said. I'm going to go check the actual chat here, see if there's any other questions. And yeah, thanks for sharing those resources, The Brew. That's cool. That's something to check out, sounds like. Also, to anyone who is wondering, please feel free to ask questions. It makes the stream better. It makes a seminar better. If I'm doing something and you want to ask a question, please ask it either in the chat or the Slack. I'll probably notice the message in the Slack sooner because I keep a closer eye on that. But please keep the questions and comments coming, and ideas. I mean, as I said, Seiron's note here that everyone seems to understand what's going on here, because that's a perfect fix for my issue. And anybody is free to pick that up as a bit of homework. I'm happy to look over anyone's work and give my feedback, and maybe it just becomes a permanent part of what we're building here. So always keep that in mind. And if you guys want more direction on sort of any kind of self-directed homework, please get in touch with me, even just to let me know you're interested, and I can probably dig something up. By Monday, I should have a fuller list also of projects we can all work on together. Okay, so our transaction got mined here, I bet. Let's refresh here. Sometimes it doesn't automatically, like it won't auto-refresh. All right, contract created. That's pretty cool. So now here's our new address. We've already copied in the new ABI. So now I'm going to go to my text file, and I'm going to change the address here and save it. Now I'm going to go to, here we go. So it's deployed. My interface is looking at the new contract now. Okay, contract's balance is not outputting. That's right, I said I'm not going to worry about that. So it's redeployed, so these should still read 0, because we still need to now go and try once again to use that functionality. And if it doesn't work on my crypto this time, I'll use my Ether wallet, because I know it'll work there. Okay, new address. There it is. Same ABI access. Select function. We are going to make a bid, and we're going to put an empty value in here. It's asking me for how much I want to put in. Oh, the other one probably failed because I didn't send any Ether with it. So when I called this earlier, where is make bid? There you go. That is probably why it failed. So I should have looked at the code. Also, it would be nice to put in some message here describing the issue, but again, I'm hesitant to change the contract code too much. I like to keep this in line with the deployed version unless I'm going to come in here and make some serious changes. But that would be a good improvement there, is to add a message, and certain interfaces can look at what the message is when the contract has failed. It's still a newer feature, so it's not entirely supported, but it's a good habit to get into, to provide some explanation for why the require failed. All right, so value. I guess I have to, this must be in way, so I'm gonna have to go use an Ethereum unit converter, Ethereum units, and I should really bookmark this. I recommend bookmarking it once you find one you like, and I will bookmark it. And ETH units. Oh, I already have it up there. Oh my god, that is just so embarrassing. I'm just, look at that. Well, I got two different kinds now. Nope, they're even this, yeah, they're two different kinds. That's weird. And I should probably not be retarded here. Okay, anyway, so 1 ether is this much way, so let's take that value and let's put it in here. I don't know if I actually have 1 testnet ether. I don't. So I'm going to go here and have this. Actually, I'll 1/10 it, so I'll take out one of these zeros. So that should be 0.1 ether, which I do have. Again, this is all on the testnet. Oh, my crypto is, yeah, it's on testnet. So this automatically, I think this automatically detected that my MetaMask was on Ropsten and chose Ropsten as well. I don't know if my Ether wallet does that. No, see, this is on mainnet, so in that way, this interface is more intelligent. Okay, let's write. And it's not doing anything. It should pop up with MetaMask. But MetaMask doesn't seem aware of anything, so... Okay. Oh, there it went. Popped up. Sometimes it takes a while. No? No, that was something else. Okay. Let's try my Ether wallet. Same stuff. Go to contracts. Put in your address in the API. Grab them from this. Address. ABI. Control A, Control C, over here, Control V. That's just nice. Go here. Let's see if we can get any. Does this work? That seems to work. Get balance. Oh, I need to make get balance of view. I don't think it is. I'm not going to worry about that now. I'm going to go to, let's see, make bid. Whoops. Make bid. Extra data is going to be. I can't tell it how much value to include here. Well, maybe I can't after I do this. No. And I bet I can't select. Oh, here we go. Amount to send. Here we go. And I don't know if this wants ether or way. Whoops. But I need to go back to my unit converter. Oh, I keep forgetting I make these bookmarks, I never use them. Okay, there's that. We're going to do that. Going to take off a 0. We're going to generate transaction. Yes, I'm sure. MetaMask pops up. That's a good sign. 8 fucking billion USD. That is not correct. Okay, so I guess when I write here, it takes ether. So I'm going to do 0.1. Let's try that again. There we go. That is a more reasonable number. Confirm. View my transaction. So it'll often look like it's, oh, here we go. This needs to be Ropsten. Ropsten. Lots of fucking gotchas going on here in Web3 development. So this transaction is my make a bid call, and once it resolves, it should take that 0.1 ether from my account, put it in the smart contract, and make a bid object. So hopefully everything is configured correctly this time. I've noticed on this page that as long as you have these animations going along right here and right here, it'll refresh automatically. So I don't need to keep refreshing this. It's only if you get to this page very early that you would then need to later refresh, because I guess it hasn't loaded enough to start the automatic watch stuff. I think whether or not this works, I'll end the stream. Because it should work. If it doesn't, I'm at a loss. And we're creeping up now on An hour 40. A little bit less than that. Gas price 41 gig away. Well, it's on Ropsten, so I don't care. But if you're on mainnet, that would probably be like 8 times as high as you really need it to be, unless there's something going on the network. Fail. Out of gas. Now it'll do that if it fails a require. Let's take a last look at what we're calling. We're calling make bid. It's external, it's payable, it requires the message.value is greater than 0, which should be. It pushes a bid, it returns the bids dot length. It's returning the ID. Oh, you know what? I bet I know. So if you're using this industry is full of these little fucking tricks. And that's part of what I hope to help you guys with, is knowing that they're there. So I'm going to call make bid again. I'm going to go to write. Yes, I'm sure. But I'm going to change this gas limit. And I usually like double or triple it. So instead of a 2, I'm just going to put a 6. Generate. Now, watch this tricky motherfucker, because you fucking click that, and usually, oh, I guess they fixed it. That used to turn back to the 2, and then you had to do it again, click generate again, and click yes. So it's good to see that's gone. But watch out for it. Maybe it still happens sometimes. Yeah. So I've given it more gas now. Usually these interfaces should be smart enough to give it enough gas, but I've found it, at least in the past, that this one seems to fail sometimes, especially with contract deployment. Not that that's what this is, but okay, so here's our new transaction, and this time our gas limit is 3 times as high. So unless there's something seriously wrong with the function, this should go through now. Or if there's unless there's some kind of, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. And I'm going to check while we're waiting for, oh, let me refresh. Fail again. Out of gas again. Okay. Well, I think I'll keep the stream going. I'm going to end the recording here. So I'm going to end the seminar now. I'm going to keep working at this a little bit. If I get it working and figure out the issue in the next half hour, I'll start another recording and just append that to the video at the end here.